recording. Okay, I'm gonna start recording now, but it's gonna be only for us. So here we're gonna be discovering things like inner critic, limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, procrastination, catastrophic thoughts. Maybe you have extra stress and anxiety, all those things that are unfortunately the new normal, but it does affect our mental and our body health much more than you could ever think, okay? And this is a place where we're going to be taking the stigma out of all those challenges. We're going to be discovering how to spot them, give them a name, because sometimes you don't even know what's going on, and probably there is a name for it. And we're going to give you ways to overcome them. So you're not alone. I think everybody felt something when I sent the program. So what you might feeling right now is shared by millions out there. And there are many ways to overcome it. I did it many times, so that means that you can do it too. So for the course, actually, you can have the camera on, off, however you feel it, okay? There's no right or wrong. You want to participate, you don't, it's really your choice. And although this is like a group coaching, and it's much more beneficial if you open up and share, because you will find support and comfort, then it's up to you. All I'm asking is to have an open mind when it comes to exercises and questions that you never done before to yourself. Probably they might feel uneasy, and maybe you don't want to do it. You don't like to challenge your mind with uncomfortable questions, but that's okay. You know, to just remain open and give a chance to the magic of coaching, okay, and training your brain. So now, if someone wants to say anything, someone wants to, I mean, you all know each other basically, but if you want to say something in the group before we start, giving you a couple of minutes. Anybody feeling shy? No?
No,
okay.
Just, we are very curious, I think.
Yeah.
You know, to see you in this new contest.
Okay. Good. I'm just gonna try to unmute. Hi, Elisabetta, how you doing? Okay, I'm gonna unmute, or try to unmute yourself, guys, just in case there's some noise behind. Okay. Anyway, so what we're gonna do now, then we're gonna start with an exercise which is called a brain dump, right? A brain dump is like a flood or a stream of consciousness where you dump all your thoughts that are running through your mind and you put them on paper, right? So what you're gonna do now, take your paper, take a pen, and then I want you to write down every thought that comes into your mind, small or big, or even if it's something like, I can't think of anything, I don't want to do this, just write it down as well. A thought dump is very casual. You can do it just with bullet points. You don't have to write anything like super long, to just use your bullet points.
But Pilar, like you mean something that is in our mind right now?
Yeah, exactly, right now. Whatever is coming through your mind, whatever thought is coming through your mind right now, you put it on the paper.
Okay.
Yeah, very casually, anything that comes into your mind, and write as many as you can with bullet points. You don't have to go like really, really in depth, because this is not like journaling. This is just a brain dump. Actually, brain dump is a really good way to clear your mind. When you have like all these thoughts running around and you feel very overwhelmed, what you do is just you put them on a paper, and then you feel like the paper is holding them for you. Instead of being in your brain, they're actually in the paper. And when you read your worries and your anxieties in a paper, just by visualizing them, it can help to handle them better, even to realize how unrealistic they could be, okay? So you just can discharge them. It's very good to when you're feeling overwhelmed or you have too many negative thoughts. So how are you getting on? You can use the chat anytime if you don't want to come live, although I think it's a pretty cohesive team. So, but you can use the chat all the time, or just do like this if you're done. So I know I can carry on. Okay, good. Right. So what we're going to do now with all those thoughts that you have on your paper, we're going to look at them from two lenses. The first one is mindfulness. The second one is control. So from the sense of mindfulness, you have to write down next to each one of your thoughts if it's coming from the past, from the present, or from the future. So you have a look at the thought and you say, is this something happened in the past and I'm bringing it here right now? Or maybe this is happening right now, like noise that I'm hearing, or I'm hungry. Or maybe it's something that is coming up for you. It's a thought from the future, maybe into your to-do list, like I need to do groceries or whatever. Right? So just write down P for present, probably, or PR for present, P from past, and F for future. If it's any other thoughts coming during the session, just keep putting them down because we're going to be using this in the future anyway. So whatever comes. Okay, so if you want to put in the comments, if you want to count, say, where do you find the majority of your thoughts? If it's in the past, in the present, in the future, maybe everywhere.
Both.
They're both? Both what? Past
and present.
Past and present, no future.
Maybe only one.
In the future.
You have them in the future, okay? So basically there's no right or wrong. This is for you to be conscious about where your mind is sitting on this moment, okay? And you can actually wonder what is the benefit of that. If your mind is in the future, or if in your mind is in the present, or if it's in the past, okay? It's the self-awareness is one of the best things that you can have as a mental health. So now we're going to look into your brain dump, all your thoughts from the lens of control. So you're going to write down next to each one of your thoughts if it's a thought that is safe and within your control, or non-safe or not within your control. So basically it's like, can I do anything about this? Or is totally out of my control? And then again, if you want to pop in the chat, where are your thoughts? Or you want to come live and say it. Again, there's no right or wrong. It's just something for us to reflect on. And each thought dump could be totally different. So you might be feeling very present right now and very focused because you have like a very targeted thing in front of you. Or you might be in a worry spiral instead and just not feeling very good. But that is very important to acknowledge too. So it's just for you to be aware again of what's going on in your mind. Okay.
Do you want us to share?
I would love to. So what do you think? What do you feel? How is it giving you any insights?
Obviously, it's a mix of things. So if I have to say what I have right now in my mind, there's a lots of past coming up, as I said. It's normal. So I wrote memories, nostalgia, and then women empowerment, and uncertainty, curiosity, because this is the first time that I do it. And so I'm really curious to see. And then also kind of, if I can say, like positivity, because I think it's very positive to see, like, for example, for me to see you in this new context, to see that you reinvented yourself, that you tried another life. So these are the mixed feelings.
Okay.
That I have.
So you are basically using a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
Right? So you're focusing right now on emotions.
Yes.
Rather than just facts, so just using emotions. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think they're all emotions.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So that will say basically where are you at the moment? What is causing you that basically? Just for you to be self-aware of it, which is very good. Anybody else want to share?
I'm as Valentina. I think also the first thing that I came to my mind, it was energy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's for me it's present, past, and also control, uncontrolled. Because I mean, as Valentina told, to see you, I mean, you're really transmitting so much energy, and this is something that I need in this time, because the second word actually is health, because I'm not very so healthy in this moment of my life with my, and so they are
I'm missing you.
very connected. So
I don't know if it's me.
No, we lost her. No, we lost her.
Ah, stavo parlando da sola praticamente. Pilar.
Yeah.
Now you have me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that health and energy for me in this moment, they are the first two words that came to on the paper. And they are very connected to you, very connected also to my state of state of the statement of this moment. Yes, state of mind, but also of the body, because I'm not very healthy in this period. So it's they are very bounded, I think. And to see you in this context, it's really gave me immediately the first word I wrote. It's energy.
Good. I'm glad I can translate you without doing anything.
I think that no, but you know, because when you I did a course last week for public speaking, also with theater. It was really interesting because you know, when a person faces is empathic, it provides you so many energies and so many feelings. So this is the first thing it came to my mind. And
yes, actually, when you do coaching, there's a lot of energy. I use a lot of energy, work with the people, and then I use a lot of energy with myself. So that is actually very interesting that you guys both mention it, because there is a lot of energy coming used and you know, when you do actually the kind of things. Yeah. So we're gonna have to move on anyway, because I'm very conscious about the time. And now the next one we're gonna do another exercise, and it's basically the grow model. Probably some of you heard about it before, and it's a goal setting tool, right? So we're gonna learn how to set our goals in any moment of our life, even if it's like the weekly goals, or if you need a goal for the next 6 months or for a year or 5 years, right? And it's very clear and it's very easy to follow. So actually you cannot go wrong with this. So on a piece of paper like this, I want you to write grow. Okay, can you see that? It's like in a column, GROW. And it's very important that we set the foundations on how to reorganize and write down our goals, because it's not as easy sometimes. So by having a very clear tool, it will give you the guidance and the focus actually to ensure that what you write down on the paper, you can actually follow later. So the first one, G, is for goals. So now you can write down any goal you want to work with in this session. Or maybe the goal you had in mind when you saw the course, okay? But I want you to concentrate on something you want to do this week, this session, something that you want to achieve in this session, and you're going to work on for the rest of the week. Could be, I don't know, like, I want to lose weight. I want to change my job. So yeah, anything that comes to mind, but something that you really wanted to work on. And now you're done. If you're not, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll keep going. Because we're going to go to the letter R, and then write down to it, next to it, you can write R. Well, before we go to R, actually, will allow you to ensure that your goal is SMART, meaning that is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time frame. Okay. So if we have a goal like I don't want to feel anxious anymore, which is a very broad goal. Okay, it's like an umbrella goal. So in order to make it SMART, more specific and more measurable, one thing we can do is to visualize how are we going to feel when you achieve that goal. Okay, so how are you going to feel when you get up in the morning? How specifically your life is going to change when you achieve that, when you think that you're not going to feel anxious anymore? What is going to be different? So the more specific you are, the better guidance and better focus you're going to find to follow that goal. So if I say I want to stop feeling anxious, what I really want to say maybe is I want to be able to speak in a board meeting with confidence instead of just having a somatic attack with sweaty palms and getting paralyzed every time that I am in a board meeting. Or maybe I want to be able to walk on a crowded restaurant and feel relaxed and integrated with the crowd so I can actually enjoy my meal or my friends. Or maybe I want to walk into a party and be able to speak to a stranger. Okay, so that is very specific of I want to feel not anxious anymore. So if you actually have one of these broad goals, have another look on them and see if you can actually make it more specific and more measurable in order to keep working on it, because we're going to be designing the plan now. So the next letter is R, and that stands for reality. Where are you in relation to that goal right now? Where are you? What's going on in your life? So for me, if I want to be able to speak in a board meeting and I can't because I get anxiety or panic attacks, my reality is I cannot speak. I'm not showing my ideas. I'm not speaking to anybody. I'm just, not doing my job. That's my reality. So just find out about your reality. Then we go to the O, which is obstacles and options. So the obstacles is basically what is stopping you in the past or maybe right now to achieve that goal. So an obstacle for me could be maybe like my boss is a bit of a jerk. So he does not make it easy for other people to feel at ease by expressing their ideas. And I'm very worried about his reaction. And that stopped me from speaking. I am actually scared of his reaction. So I prefer not to speak. And then my options is basically, what could I do to work towards this goal, to be able to speak? That's my goal. So what options do I have? So write down as many as you can, anything. Some might be unrealistic. Maybe some of them is a possibility in the future. Just use it like brainstorm and write as many as possible. Because to discharge them, you have time, but basically just get the brain working for you, get that flow. And the more you write, the more will come up. You getting on okay? Everybody's okay? Yeah? Okay. So finally, the last one is the W. It means the ways to go forward. What are you going to do next towards that goal? Okay, so with all the possibilities that you have written down, what specifically you know you can actually do next. You can do this week. You can start doing. What is it that specifically that you can do towards that goal? Which option are you going to commit, and maybe with who? Maybe when are you going to start? What are you going to do this week? Like, to me, I could, if I had a board meeting tomorrow, I will commit myself to speak once, even just once in the entire meeting. So that would be one of my options. So now I'm curious, anybody wants to share the action? Which action do they commit themselves that they're going to be doing this week? No one? Feeling shy? You want to put it maybe on the chat?
I can share it.
Okay. So what are you going to do? What do you commit yourself to do?
The thing is that the last few weeks I had like a lot of anxiety. So my goal is like to start being healthy, not eating like, because I'm eating like with really big anxiety. So to be more healthy, more focused on my health and myself and all of it. I mean, it's my first goal.
Okay. So what is your action?
My action is to start doing it. I mean, because I'm saying it, but I'm not doing it.
Okay.
So
okay.
it's like to start like serious.
Okay. So
I mean, not to buying like shitty things, to buy just healthy food. Even if I want to, not doing it. What else? I don't know. I mean, just for example, to start walking everywhere.
Okay, that's very specific. So basically, for you to be able to visualize you doing it, you need to be very specific. So you say, I'm going to start working. I'm going to walk to work every day. Or I'm not going to buy any more donuts. Or I'm going to eat a salad once a day. So you need to be very specific on what do you commit yourself to do this week to start with your goal.
So then, yeah, I mean, stop eating sugar.
Okay,
at least for one day.
That's challenging.
Yeah, for me, for sure.
Okay, good. Well done. Anyone else? Anyone wants to share?
I can share mine too.
Come on, Sandra.
I want to take 10 minutes a day for myself with no phone and just in peace, with no interruption of anybody or anything. I think that could help me to find my inner peace again.
Okay.
At the moment I'm a bit out of my balance, so or meditate or just sit and do nothing for 10 minutes.
And how are you going to make sure that you do that?
I'm going to do it in the morning because then the free time, and I switch off my phone and just try to be in nature by myself.
Good.
I think that's how it works.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, sounds good. Anybody else? Shall we move on? Feeling shy? Okay. So when you go and start doing all these things this week, you need to remember that you have to be very compassionate with yourself. Okay, we need to be very compassionate with ourselves. If you don't finish your action for the week, if you don't do it, or if you just, just like tried, but it didn't work, you don't have to beat yourself up, because you will try again and that will be it. Okay, there's no reason to actually get mad. You just need to be very specific and very realistic on what you're trying to do And if it doesn't work for you, you can always change it. You can always lower a little bit the bar, or maybe raise the bar. And it's okay if you feel that it's difficult to achieve, because failing is actually an amazing opportunity to learn. So if you're doing it, maybe saying, I want to walk 1 hour every day, and then you realize that it's very unrealistic and you ended up walking 45 minutes, that's fine. You learn that it's better to start with 45 minutes, okay? So basically that's it. Right, so now something very important as well that is very connected to your goals is foundations, right? Which are very, very important to achieve your bigger goals. So this is very much like the Maslow pyramid. Probably you heard about that before, maybe the Tim Robbins needs, that we can talk another time. But basically, the same way that we cannot start a building from the roof, sometimes we set up goals for ourselves at a very high level, like self-esteem or self-actualization. And we don't really have the foundation to support them. So we don't meet them and we beat ourselves up. Then we have negative thoughts, we feel like a failure, etc., etc. But so we need to look into our foundations, our basic needs of humans, if they are there to support us. And those foundations are very easy to have a look at. There are 4 of them. That water, are you drinking enough? Movement, are you moving enough? Sleep, are you sleeping enough? And nutrition, are you eating properly? So what I say to some of my clients is they come to a session, a one-to-one session, they bring a goal, one of these very high level ones, maybe about anxiety, because actually I'm quite specialized in anxiety and stress management. And we start working on them, with different techniques. We might try breathing and mindful acceptance. We might do positive psychology with gratitude, hypnosis. And week after week, I feel there's something actually just not sinking there. And then I go and find out that that person maybe is sleeping 4 hours a day, or maybe having 5 coffees, and never ever exercise. Skipping most of the meals and only do takes away, like really fattening takeaways, are just eating confectionery or candy. And the most important thing, getting drunk every single night because they need to numb the pain. Okay, so obviously this is not a healthy lifestyle, and it's not covering your basic needs as a human. So even if it sounds naive, it's actually not. It's very challenging to support your bigger goals, like something very important that you want to achieve in life, like stopping anxiety, if you are not supported by your basic needs. So how are we going to do this? So I'm going to give you something very interesting for you to start tracking them. And it's basically to keep a log. I'm going to show you, I'm going to be sending you this. You can hardly see it right now, but it's basically a foundation tracker. And then you have, in every day, you're going to have a place that you're going to write down how many glasses of water, how many hours per night are you sleeping, how many minutes of movement, and the nutrition. Okay, I'm going to be sending as well like a really nice nutrition poster for you to ensure that you know which food groups do you need for the week. And I'm going to send you as well like something with the sleep hygiene, do's and don'ts, and then what is a sleep cycle? How does it look like? So everything is going to be sent to you, but we're going to talk a little bit about right now. So the nutrition, and one of the things that you might have at the moment, if you have anxiety or excess worries or stress, or maybe a little bit of depression, we know that all that is causing an inflammatory response in your body. Okay, so you might look at your nutrition and one way to address that inflammation in your gut. And I touch my gut because I suffer a lot from that kind of inflammation. So have a look at the poster, and maybe you can make one of the goals of the week to introduce one of these food groups into your meals, okay? Just for the week, first week. And then you really have to listen to your body cues. If you have a lot of anxiety, or if you're under stress or overwhelmed for anything, if you have like a very low self-esteem moment, actually we don't listen to our body cues. We don't eat properly. And this is a gentle reminder that we need to have meals and snacks and drink enough water. And if we don't do it, if we don't have enough of any of that, that could go straight into blood sugar issue, and that goes into more anxiety and more worry. So actually, by talking about the basic needs of the human, you're going back into scientifically, it's shown that if we don't have that needs covered, we cannot go into a higher expectations in our life, okay? Movement, everybody know how important it is to do just like 30 minutes every day, walking, dancing, I don't know, whatever you want to do, but ensure that you actually log how many minutes you do every week. And the last piece is sleep. Okay, you guys are very young and probably think that you don't need to sleep that much, but it is very important to sleep at least 7 to 9 hours uninterrupted every night. And who am I talking? My daughter wakes me up every single night at 3 o'clock in the morning, asking for a bottle of milk, heated. So I need to wake up and go to the kitchen and heat a bottle of milk. And then she doesn't drink it, but she makes me to go and do it. So she interrupts my night every single night for the last 2 years. So who am I to say that? But if you can actually, if you don't have that kind of challenges, I really do encourage you to get at least this 7 hours of sleep at night. Okay, I will send you that document for you to make it easier. But I'll tell you why it's important. I don't know if you know much about the sleep cycles, okay? There's like 4 stages in each sleep cycle. And we have about 5 to 6 full cycles every night. So the first one, it only takes like 1 to 5 minutes, and you can wake up easily after that. The second one actually is slightly deeper, 10 to 60 minutes. The third one, that is a very important one, is a delta waves one, okay? And this is where you need to arrive because it's the healing one, the restorative, is where our cells regenerate themselves, where they heal the wounds from the day, and it's an anti-aging effect. So if you are into beauty like me, this anti-aging maybe some, giving you some motivation to actually get to the delta waves sleep. If you skip this stage too often, the body will not heal himself properly, and it's very connected to creativity and memory. But the most important one, and is the famous REM, so rapid eye movement, actually appears between, it lasts about 10 to 60 minutes each time, but it doesn't come until at least 90 minutes when you are sleeping, okay? So if you are sleeping less than 90 minutes, you will never get here. And this is where we dream. And it's so important for learning, for memory and creativity and consolidation, right? So basically, I'm showing you because if you don't have these 5 to 6 cycles, or if you lose one entire cycle every night, it's actually quite damaging. It could be potentially quite damaging in the future. So hopefully that's some good motivation for you there, right?
Very difficult.
Sorry?
It's very difficult. I have always had sleeping issues, sleeping problems. Probably the last time I did an uninterrupted slept was, I don't even remember when, 10 years ago maybe. But yeah, it's quite very difficult.
Do you know why?
Well, I have a very light sleep, so everything wakes me up.
Okay.
And then probably sometimes a bit of anxiety as well. Played a key role. Yeah, I think it's a mix of things.
Okay. For the noise, I recommend
too many thoughts.
Sorry?
That was a joke. Too many thoughts.
There you go.
Too many thoughts.
Yes, too many.
Yeah. I mean, there is many things that you can do. Okay, many techniques that you can actually start using, from meditation to minutes, like guided meditation with your headphones before you go to bed. That is magical. Actually, it's really good and soothes you very well. Breathing techniques, and then this, if you follow this balance, it's very important. I think you're gonna like it. I know it's kind of like common sense, but it's very good. So basically things like put your devices away 30 minutes before you go to bed. Do you actually do that?
No, never.
Because I don't.
Valentina is always makes She did jokes on me, but remember, due to pandemic, I was not able to sleep for a while.
Yeah.
So I found out the ASMR technique. So there are these videos with sounds.
Yeah,
Little
exactly.
noise.
I
And
put
this-
what sound sometimes.
Yeah.
But
and
there
so-
are many, many things. I mean, if you are open mind to try things and not to do these, very important, then there's a few techniques. With time, it's not going to happen overnight. But I can tell you, like in a week, your sleep hygiene, it can be much better, I guarantee. But you know, you need to try, you need to do things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vale, let's try, you can also try with the ear
Yeah.
plug.
Yes.
I sleep with them for the last 20 years.
Me too.
Silicone
Me
ones.
too. Because my also I really hear even like a leaf that
Yeah. No.
that moves.
Mhm.
And also there's a beautiful app. The name is Petit Bamboo,
Petit bamboo.
and it's Petit Bamboo. It's an app. It's very nice app also, and it's beautiful. It really helps a lot because you have also 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, like meditation.
Yeah, exactly.
Relaxation.
It really works. Okay, we need to move on because I'm very conscious. We only have hardly half an hour left, but that's very good. I mean, we'll try to summarize all this. And then if you need any extra techniques, Valen, just send me an email and I'll tell you quite a few,
Yeah.
okay? Okay, so now we're going to talk about very quickly about the neuroscience of habits. Okay, this is something that everybody keep asking me about the habits, not how to create habits, how to do into healthier habits. So what I want to explain to you first is what's going on in your brain every time that we create a new habit, okay? I can put an example, maybe with a negative behavior or unhelpful behavior that you might have. So say the neuron A is the trigger that sets this negative behavior, okay? And the neuron B is the behavior, the negative behavior that you do. Okay, let's go for anxiety. Let's say that a crowded restaurant is what triggered my anxiety symptoms, okay? And then what I do, I go to neuron B, which is basically avoid the situation. And I think, oh my God, I can't do this, I'm gonna leave the place. I can't stand here, okay? So what happened is, because I do it all the time, there's a very deep neural path that it has been created in your unconscious brain because all the repetitions that you do. So basically, coming from A to B in a behavior that is not helping you, because leaving the restaurant, it doesn't help you. Why would you go then? It just doesn't help you. But it becomes the default way that you do things, your unconscious way. Okay, when you're in flow, you don't even know. You go there, oh my God, I can't do it, and then you fly away, right? So what the brains want, and this is very important, and it is always the same in our life, is the brain likes to keep you safe, which is actually very good. And how is it going to keep you safe? It's going to avoid every single situation that he thinks that you're going to die. So for the brain, everything that scares you, everything that it makes you feel uncomfortable, even like talking to a stranger, he thinks you're going to die, okay? So he wants to keep you safe. But the reality is you're not going to die from a crowded restaurant, right? So what you need to do is to create consciously, you have to think about it, and then you have to create consciously a behavior that is going to be used for you, okay? That is going to serve you better. So you can finally do what you want, which is basically being able to go to a fancy restaurant and enjoy the company and your meal and the experience, right? So normally what our brain does, it looks for the shortest and fastest and safest way to do things. So basically it's like the highway. So if you want to drive in Germany, let's say, to one point to another, you take the highway because that doesn't work in England. But the highway in most of the countries actually is a very safe and very short way to go from one point to another. So this is what our brain does. It's like the best option for him, but it's just not the best option for us. that one created. So whenever we learn a new tool, like today, if someone has never done a goal setting before or a brain dump, whenever we learn a new tool, whenever we try a new behavior, we're going to go to neuron A, which is the trigger of the behavior, okay, like walking into a crowded restaurant. But then we're going to stop. I'm going to say, okay, what do I want to do next? Because consciously, I'm going to choose to do something new. And that is going to go to another neuron, which is neuron C, let's say. And that is the new behavior. So my new behavior is I'm going to consciously not leave the restaurant. And instead, I'm going to just calm down and I'm going to do some breathing exercises that I know that will calm down. Or I'll do mindfulness or a body scan, okay? So I will calm down and I will try again to go inside the restaurant. So obviously this doesn't happen normally the first time, okay? Because our old behaviors are very, very deeply rooted in our brain. And it's because our safe way to do things. It's what makes us happy, right? It's what stops us from dying. So our brain thinks that we're going to die every time that we fear something or we don't like something. So what we need to do is to change our thoughts. So by changing our thoughts consciously is the first way to start creating a new habit. And I know it sounds a bit confusing, but it's as easy as that. If you have any questions, please just interrupt me because I just go on a rant. You know, I'm on a mission to basically say my piece, and I'm not even looking at if you are getting or not, but just give me some feedback if you want to. So basically what you need to do, the way that humans will learn is by repetition, no matter what they say. So you have to go back and try again. You have to do repetition, you have to do it consciously, and you're telling yourself that you're creating a better habit. It's like when you try to eat more healthy, Paloma, for example, okay? You're telling yourself that you need to create a better behavior, a better habit for yourself, okay? And eventually, when you do a behavior enough times, it becomes familiar. So it becomes the new safe ways to do things. And this is where we want to get. But we only get that by doing repetition, okay? And doesn't mean that the old highway A to B is going to disappear. No, I'm sorry to say it's not going to go anywhere because it's your old default to do things. And this is where the self-compassion with us comes in again. So if you don't start running this week, if you don't start walking to go to work, if you don't start writing your thesis or your dissertation, or if you don't start talking on a board meeting once a week, it's not you. It's basically your default way to do things, okay? But until now you have an option, a conscious option, a conscious decision that you need to start changing that. Because you know what the root is. You know that your brain is trying to keep you safe from getting hurt, but you're not going to get hurt. You need to change your behavior. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So basically, don't give up. Your brain learns by repetition. And the very good things about the brain, and we can talk about this on another occasion, is your brain doesn't know what is true and what is not true. It doesn't know. So if you repeat something to your brain enough and enough and enough, you ended up, I mean, obviously with conviction, right? But your brains ended up believing that thought. If I say, I am, I'm a healthy person, I'm not healthy, I don't do those choices anymore, I don't do donuts anymore, I'm a healthy person, this is the way I see myself, I'm a healthy person, even if I'm just trying to become healthier, there is a moment that because my visualization and that thought in my brain is as a healthy person, my brain believes that I am a healthy person. And the way that it gives me solution every day at work, every day in my life, is from a healthy person perspective. Okay, just give a try. Very good. This is actually quite magical when you start understanding this and when you start living it in yourself. Yeah, so basically make something familiar, make something unfamiliar familiar. Most of you in here do a lot of working. I know that. I've seen you. I share some berries with you sometime in Milan. You kill me. So I know that you're working on your apps. Maybe you have like an amazing 6 package, 20 package, but you know that if you don't put the work, it's not going to happen, right? You go and you do your reflections, you go to, you go to the gym, you do anything. You have your amazing bum, etc., etc. But this is not magic. You're working towards it. With the brain, it's exactly the same thing. Okay, if you don't work on it, if you don't do repetitions, it's not going to work. All right? So it's not as easy as it sounds. Okay, good. So very quickly, we're going to go now into, well, anyone want to comment anything, any insights, any, no? Okay, so let's talk about something very important as well in our lives, which is boundaries, okay? A boundary is a rule. It's a rule that tell other people how they can treat you, right? What is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And without boundaries, people may take advantage. There's some noise in here. I don't know if someone can, I think, Elisabetta. Can you unmute yourself, Elisabetta? I'm trying to do it myself, but I'm having some trouble. There you go, Sandra. Yeah. Okay. So so basically, people may have some advantage of you if you don't set up the limits on how you expect to be treated. Okay. So, but why do we need boundaries in our life? Well, number one, because they allowed you to be yourself. Okay. I don't know if how do you feel about this before? I was a person with no boundaries whatsoever. I think I was basically ruled by other people's desires, and I always suffer a lot because I didn't know even how to put them in there. I wasn't even aware of, I didn't have any boundaries with my own self. So these boundaries allow you to be your true self, to have your own feelings, to make your own decisions without needing to please other people first, right? Then there's a form of self-care. So the emotional boundaries will make you value your own feelings first and no other people. And you're not responsible for how other people feel or behave. You cannot be on every single project at work, in every shift. They keep asking you for favors. You cannot be on every committee. Boundaries mean saying no to things that do not align with your self-care priorities, okay? And very important, the boundaries are super, super important to create realistic expectations in other people about yourself. So when you communicate your boundaries clearly, people know what to expect from you, right? So there is less anger and less frustration. It's kind of like a common sense communication. So we're going to do right now, and this is another piece of exercise. We're going to write down about our own boundaries. And I want you to go back to your notebook. I have mine. And I want you to write again in the form of a column like this, more or less, so one after another, so it's easy for you to see. The first word that you're going to write is work. Then home. Then partner and children. Then you're going to write family. Friends, and finances. Everybody got them, all of them? I'll repeat them. Work, home, partner and children, family, friends, and finances. So what I want you to do is to write from 1 to 10. 1 is very low and 10 is very high. How satisfied, how happy are you with the boundaries that you have around these areas? So if your boundaries are respected or are not respected in this area. So I'm going to put you a little sample so it makes it easy for you to think about it. So let's start from work. So if I have set up a boundary at work regarding my family balance, because I promised myself I will leave work every day at 5 o'clock, no matter what, because I have a baby waiting for me, right? But every time my boss asks me to stay for the tiniest thing, I just go and say hi. I say, yes, no problem, I'll stay. And actually I'm compromising my family. So my boundaries are very weak. So if I had to say 1 to 10, it's probably 0 or 1, okay? So think about how many hours do you put at work and how satisfied are you with that? Think about your lunch breaks. Think about the people at work, how people treat you. So 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with the boundaries that you have at work? And now we're going to go home. And home would be like, how do you share the housework, maybe the cleaning, the payments? How do you feel about that? Then if it's applicable, partner and children, again, how much time do you spend together? Maybe your communication style, if you have an argument, if it's yelling, or if not. So how satisfied are you with the boundaries around them? Family, we're going to go into your siblings, your parents. Maybe you want to have a look into, again, the communication style. Are you a parent to your parents? Are you happy with things like maybe getting unannounced people in the house? So then friends, are you a people pleaser? Are they taking advantage of you, or are they very respectful people? Do you keep in touch for the best and for the worst, or just for the parties? And finally, finances. How do you feel about your own boundaries, maybe with online shopping, or overspending on your credit card, or maybe loans money to people? So how do you feel about finances and the boundaries that you do have with yourself and with your finances in 1 to 10? So you want to put the score in the chat to see how do you feel? Maybe you want to have just like one number, or you want to, because some of the boundaries might be like really high, like you might have like a 10, and some of the boundaries you might have 1. So how do you feel about it? Just have a reflection if you want to, or just pop it on the comments. So what I'm asking you to do is to have a look at your lowest ones. Okay, have a look where you have less than 4. And just put a bullet point there. To come back to them later on, not today, but maybe to come back to them tomorrow. And then have a reflection about it. Like, what can you do to change that? And why do we fail to set boundaries, even if we know they're very, very important? What do you think? It's basically the main reason why don't we have boundaries is fear, right? It is scary to do something different. But then you have to think, what are you actually afraid of? What will happen if you set a boundary? And what will happen if you don't set a boundary? So by asking yourself questions like this, you will understand if your fear of setting that boundary is actually alerting you from a real danger, or just keeping you stuck where you are. Like, I don't really want to tell, very stupid. I don't want to tell my boyfriend that don't leave the plate on the sink, because I know he's gonna start yelling and we're gonna have an argument and it's gonna be a nightmare. So I just shut up and I'll do it for him. So what is that danger? Why am I not gonna do it? It's actually, I don't want to have that argument, but I should have that argument if I really want to be respected on that, okay? So basically that's a very stupid boundary, but this is the way that we actually put that line between ourselves and the people in front of us. And the boundaries can be learned. If you never saw boundaries before, they can be learned with practice. And the most popular one probably is people pleasing. And then you don't want to disappoint people with your rules and your desires. You want to avoid conflict. And then that is why you don't set boundaries. So you have to be very aware of that as well. some boundaries actually can be very helpful for ourselves. So if you're actually too strict and too rigid, they can be very unhelpful. Let's say that you say, I'm gonna, today you decided you're gonna run 5 times a week, okay? And if you don't, then you feel really, really bad about it because it's too rigid. I say, okay, this now or nothing. But maybe you run 3 out of 5 times, and that is okay. That is okay. So if you actually have your flexibility in your mind about those boundaries, it's going to be encouraging instead of demotivated. So just when you set up a boundary, ensure that you do it in a way that is going to be motivating for you, right? And the last one about boundaries is maybe when you say yes to everybody. You know, there's one where you actually say yes to everybody and you actually wanted to say no. But you're actually saying no to yourself. You're taking that time and that energy from your self-care and your wellness to put it somewhere else, to put it on someone else, okay? What you're saying is my priorities do not matter and my self-care is not a priority. So then again, think about your boundaries and how do you feel about them. And when you have boundaries, you're not responsible for how people are going to react to them. Who cares? It's your life. You choose how to run your life. It's your own wellness first. You don't have to give any explanations, right? So one of the little things that I want you to ask you to do as our homework is I want you to think about one thing that you're going to put back into someone else that you are doing right now for themselves, but they can't do it by themselves. Like for me, I iron my boyfriend's shirts because I can't stand them seeing them, right? So just go ahead and do it. But from now on, he's gonna iron himself because he can perfectly do it. I'm not doing him any favors. So that's gonna be my mission for this week. Can you think of anything that you're gonna give back to someone? Maybe you want to put it on the chat. Nothing? Come on, Claudia, can you think about something you're going to give it back to someone that you're doing for someone right now?
For example, at work, I will stop doing, for example, some report for someone else.
Okay,
so stop doing that.
Good, exactly. It's taking time and energy from your own wellness, the one that you actually need for yourself, and you're giving it to someone else. So it's not fair on you. What you're saying is your priorities do not matter. Anybody else? It's quite empowering. Come on. You can think on anything, Valentina?
It's difficult because not difficult, but there's not something specific. Like all the things that I wrote down, from boundaries to low scoring and everything, in this stage of my life are all related to my personal life. Which is my part, like love life, because I'm in a situation where I'm quite happy with all the rest, very grateful, very happy. And that is also my goal. So everything relates to that right now in my life. So that's the goal, that's the low scoring and the boundaries. But then to say something specific, like tangible to do this week, I struggle, to think about it because it's such a long-term big goal that, if I had to think something specific that I can do tomorrow, I cannot think about it right now.
It'll come to you. No worries. It'll come to you eventually.
Yeah.
I'm going to be sending the summary anyway. So once you read the summary, it will come to you in that moment. But I think it's very important for you guys to commit to all these little exercises because it's adding up into your wellness. It really is adding up into your quality of life to find the balance. We're going to be talking a lot about balance in the next session, actually. I'm going to do a really beautiful exercise. But so if no one wants to say anything, let's go. Maybe we're gonna extend another 5 minutes. I hope you guys are okay with that. I just want to tell you a little bit about a story about stress and how we often look at the stress. Okay, you might know this history, a story. I don't know. Just humor me if you don't. If you do, but the question is, do you know how lobsters grow? Okay, so the first thought is like, who cares, Pilar? I mean, it's a bloody lobster. Who cares? Do they grow? Do they grow? We eat them in paella in Spain, actually. Give me a chance here. It's actually super interesting and quite magical. So lobsters are a very soft and mushy animal that lives inside a very rigid shell. They're actually separated entities, okay? The animal is on one side and the shell is from another. So the shell does never expand with the animal. So if the shell doesn't expand, how can the lobster grow, right? So when the shell becomes very confining and suffocating, and the lobster can breathe, basically, because it's a very tiny space. Imagine your skin when you're growing, your skin is not stretching. Imagine that. I mean, I can't even think about it. So it feels very under pressure and uncomfortable. And when she does, she goes under a rock to protect herself from predators. And she gets out of her shell to produce a new shell to recover her new larger body, okay? So when that shell becomes uncomfortable again, the lobster keep growing, right? So she does the same. She goes under a rock, gets out of her shell, and produces a new one. And this happened numerous times. So in her lifespan. So what is the stimulus for the lobster to be able to grow? It's basically to feel uncomfortable, right? So she feels uncomfortable and she moves on to feel comfortable again. So if lobster had doctors down there in the water, as we do, they will never grow because they will go to a doctor as soon as she feels stressed and uncomfortable. She get a couple of Valium or Prozac just to ignore the pain, and she feels fine again. So she never really needs to get out of her shell long enough to be uncomfortable, okay? So what I want you to think is that we need to realize that time of stress that we might all having right now, there are signals for us to grow. And if we use this adversity properly, we can actually grow through that adversity. Instead of just getting inside the shell and not moving and being numb and blocked, it's basically get out of your comfort zone and grow with that adversity in front of us. So if you feel uncomfortable at any point, because you are out of your comfort zone, because you are setting new boundaries with yourself and with other people next to you, because new things are happening right now, and you're just growing and you're developing yourself in a new way, you could actually imagine yourself as a lobster that is ready to grow a new rigid shell, okay? You're outside, you're feeling uncomfortable, you're feeling a bit scared because you're actually with no shell, but you're producing a new one. So basically, it's important for you to acknowledge that what we're doing here is growth work. And even if we feel a bit scared, a bit unprotected, we're actually developing a lot. Okay, so I hope you like that one. I don't know if you knew this story or not. I thought it was magical the first time I heard it. Any comments? Anybody want to say anything? No? You're feeling just like tired, maybe? A long day? See, Valen, are you? Oh, you just came into my okay, so before we go, I want you to I'm going to give you some homework for next week, okay? So you're not going to come with something already done. I want you to write a self-narrative, okay? So basically, it doesn't have to be pages and pages, just a few bullet points. But I want you to think about the way that you talk to yourself in your head, okay? The way that you actually, the tone of voice that you talk to yourself inside your head. If you talk kindly, or maybe you talk rough or abusive, whatever the tone you use, whatever the language you use with yourself, just write it down on the paper. Just be honest, because no one is going to read it. It's just for your eyes, but there's no growing if you're not being honest here. Okay, so I want you to write about your career, your finances, your relationships, your strengths, your weaknesses. How do you see yourself? Okay, how do you see your own personality, or how do you see the way you look, or your decisions, your challenges, your dreams? So everything that you tell in your head every day. No judging here. It's just for you to grow. Do you understand the exercise? Yeah. Okay. So before we go, 9:05 past. Anybody wants anything? Any last words of wisdom? Nothing? You don't feel like talking? You're tired? Not at all? Okay. Hope you like it. I hope you had a good time. So next week, we're going to be doing a life balance exercise. We're going to rewrite your self-narrative. So whatever you write today or this week, we're going to be rewriting it again. We're going to do a self-compassion work. And we're going to do a beautiful relaxation with a bit of a hypnotic relaxation, with a bit of a inner child work. Beautiful, beautiful, quite emotional. So I think you're going to like that. That's going to take us quite a bit of our session. We're going to be talking about self-sabotage. And we're going to be talking a lot about inner critic and how to spot that horrible voice in your head. Okay, that sounds good?
Yeah.
Right. So thank you very much again. And if there's nothing else you want to say, have a beautiful week. I'm going to be sending you the email later with all the documents. You don't have to remember anything. I'm just going to pop everything in there. And during the week, if you have any comments, if you have any doubts, or if you want some extra help from anything, just send me an email. I'm always connected. Okay?
We need to catch up, Pilar. At some point, I will call you.
You know I'm always here. You know you're the challenging one, babe.
Oh.
You're super busy lady.
No,
Anytime. Anytime.
Are you busy now?
No, I'm not busy. I'm okay. The child is out, so you want to stay for a little longer? I'll stop recording.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
And from the rest, thank you so much. See you next week. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay.